I never thought I'd end up writing something like this, but here I am sharing my story. My name is Mark, and I was married for 6 years to a woman named Lisa. To put it mildly, she was everything I thought I wanted. Smart, funny, ambitious. Lisa had this infectious energy that lit up a room. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I genuinely believed we were building something solid together. Lately, though, something felt off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but Lisa had been acting strange. She was always glued to her phone, texting and swiping away with a look of concentration that I hadn't seen before. When I asked about it, she'd wave her hand dismissively, saying she was just catching up with old friends. It didn't sit right with me. I started noticing the little things. She'd come home late from work more often, claiming she was busy with projects that needed extra attention. I'd catch her laughing at something on her phone and quickly turn it off when I walked into the room. It felt like there was a wall between us, and I was getting more confused by the day. I tried to dismiss the feeling, telling myself I was just being paranoid. But deep down, that nagging feeling wouldn't go away. Then one fateful night, everything changed. It was a Thursday, and I was home alone, scrolling through social media, trying to distract myself from that familiar feeling of unease. That's when I saw it, an old dating app she'd used before we got married, and there she was. Lisa, right on my screen, posing with that mischievous smile I loved. My heart sank. The profile was active, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just an old profile. In a panic, I started digging. I created a fake account, and it didn't take long to confirm my worst fears. The messages were flirty, suggestive, and very much in the present. I felt sick to my stomach. I couldn't breathe. Each message I read seemed to stab deeper into my heart, and I realized I was dealing with a full-blown affair. Fueled by a mix of rage and heartbreak, I decided I needed to confront her. When she got home, I was waiting in the living room, heart pounding in my chest. The moment she walked through the door, I knew I had to do it. I felt like I was about to defuse a bomb, and my hands were shaking. "Lisa, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. Her face dropped, and for a moment I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked, feigning innocence. I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots. "What's this?" I demanded, my throat dry. Her reaction was nothing short of astonishing. She scoffed and rolled her eyes as if I were overreacting. "Oh, come on, Mark. That was ages ago. I didn't think you'd ever find out." A surge of anger rushed through me, my blood boiling. "Ages ago? You're still on the app. You're still—" I couldn't finish my sentence. The betrayal was suffocating. She defensively waved her hand. "It's just harmless fun. You know how it is. I thought we were in a bit of a rut. I was just trying to feel desirable again." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The lies spilled from her lips as she tried to justify her actions, making me feel like I was the one being unreasonable. I had poured my heart into our marriage, only for her to treat it like some stupid game. The confrontation spiraled into chaos. I went from shock to anger and back again, feeling utterly lost. I questioned everything I had ever known about her, about us. How could she do this? How could she betray me like that? The emotional impact hit me like a freight train. I felt devastated, like I was standing at the edge of a precipice, staring into an abyss of sadness and rage. I was left with more questions than answers, feeling a mix of betrayal and heartbreak that I hadn't anticipated. I wanted to scream, to shout at her for tearing apart the life we built, but I didn't. Instead, I sat there overwhelmed, my mind racing with thoughts of what I should do next. Would I confront her again? Would I fight for our marriage, or was it already too late? As I wrestled with these thoughts, the reality of my situation began to sink in. I didn't just feel betrayed, I felt utterly shattered. The woman I loved had transformed into someone I barely recognized, and I was left grappling with the pieces of my broken heart. The way she had reacted was a wake-up call. I realized I couldn't just let this slide. I needed a plan, a way to reclaim my life. I wasn't about to let her walk all over me without a fight. Now, it was time to decide what would come next. The storm was brewing, and I had no idea how it would end. The thought of revenge started to take root in my mind, and I felt a mix of anger and determination. I had to reclaim my dignity and show her that I wouldn't be a doormat. But how? That was the question as I sat there, feeling the weight of my decision closing in on me. Was I ready to face the reality of what she had done? The answer was a resounding yes, but I knew it would be a long road ahead. As the sun rose the next day, I barely slept. I tossed and turned, haunted by Lisa's words from the night before. The way she dismissed my pain felt like a slap in the face, and I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that clung to me like a second skin. It was time for me to take control of my life, and I needed to figure out how. I spent the morning trying to gather my thoughts. I went for a run, hopping to clear my head, but all I could think about was that damn dating app, the messages, and the fact that my wife was out there flirting with other men. I felt sick to my stomach. How could someone I trusted so completely turn out to be the person she had become? By the time I got back home, I was feeling a bit more grounded. I made a plan, one that wouldn't involve violence or confrontation, at least not yet. I needed to gather evidence, not just for my peace of mind, but also to show her that I wasn't going to let her walk all over me anymore. I wasn't going to be the one left in the dark. I wanted to see the full picture. I decided to create another account on the dating app. I wanted to see if she was still active, and if so, I would gather as much as I could. I was nervous but determined. I picked a name, Tom, and created a profile that was completely different from my own. I used a few photos of a guy I found online who looked decent enough. I could feel my heart racing as I hit create account. As soon as I was in, I started scrolling through the profiles. After a few minutes, I found her. There she was again, smiling in her profile picture, looking as if she belonged somewhere else. The realization that I was staring at my wife's profile made my stomach churn. I couldn't believe this was happening. I sent her a message under my fake profile, my heart pounding in my chest. "Hey, you seem really fun, wanna chat?" I hit send, feeling a mix of dread and anticipation. Would she respond? Would she recognize that it was me? As the hours passed, I found myself checking my phone anxiously. I couldn't focus on anything else. Then, as the evening crept in, I got a notification. A message from her. My heart skipped a beat. "Hey, just a casual chat, right? What are you into?" I hesitated for a moment, trying to decide how I should play it. Should I be flirty, casual? I chose to keep it light. "Just looking to meet new people, you know. What about you?" She responded almost immediately. "Same. It's nice to meet someone who isn't so serious, just here to have fun." I couldn't believe it. Here was my wife having a casual conversation with someone she thought was a stranger. Each message felt like a dagger to my heart, but I was also filled with a strange sense of power. I was no longer the oblivious husband. I was watching her play a game that I had stumbled into, and I was going to make sure I won in the end. Over the next few days, I continued my charade, engaging in conversations with Lisa under my fake identity. I found out she was still very much active on the app, exchanging messages with other men, flirting and laughing, as if our marriage didn't exist. Each conversation felt like a gut punch, but I held on to my resolve. I became more adept at navigating the app, learning her patterns. She would chat late at night when she thought I was asleep, laughing at the jokes and compliments from other men. I was furious, but part of me was fascinated. It was like peering into a hidden world, one where the person I thought I knew was still out there but with a different face. One night, I decided to push the envelope further. I arranged to meet her, using my fake profile, claiming I was new in town and looking for someone to show me around. The thought made my stomach turn. Even though I was in control of the situation, it felt wrong. But I had to see if she would actually show up. I suggested a casual coffee shop downtown, a place where we used to go on dates. I knew she'd be comfortable there, and that alone gave me an edge. I could feel the adrenaline pumping through my veins as I typed the message. "Want to meet up? I'd love to grab coffee and chat in person." She responded quickly. "Sure, I'd love that. What time?" I suggested a time and she agreed. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to jump. Would she actually show up? Would she recognize me? The thrill of it all sent chills down my spine. The day of the meeting arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. I arrived at the cafe early, staking out a table that gave me a good view of the entrance. My heart raced as I waited. Would she walk in, oblivious to the fact that the stranger she was meeting was her husband? When she finally entered, my breath caught in my throat. She looked beautiful, as always, dressed in that blue dress I loved. But as she scanned the room, looking for Tom, I felt the weight of the situation press down on me. I was about to confront her in the most twisted way possible. I had to remind myself why I was doing this. I wanted to expose her lies. I wanted to show her that I wouldn't be the one left in the dark. I was going to make her see the consequences of her actions, even if it meant a confrontation of a different kind. As she sat down and pulled out her phone, ready to engage with me as if nothing was wrong, I took a deep breath. I had to be ready for whatever came next. I was about to flip the script, and I wouldn't let guilt hold me back anymore. It was time for her to face the truth. As I watched her, my heart raced with anticipation and dread. Lisa sat at the table, scrolling through her phone, likely waiting for Tom to arrive. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind 1,000 times, each scenario playing out differently. How would she react? Would she recognize me? Would she even care that I was there watching her? The cafe buzzed with life around me, but all I could focus on was her. There she was, my wife, completely unaware of the turmoil she had caused in our relationship. I felt a strange mix of anger and pity. Part of me wanted to scream, to expose her right then and there, while the other part wanted to gather every ounce of information I could before the confrontation began. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to unfold. Time ticked by slowly, and just as I thought about bailing, she looked up and spotted me. Tom. Her voice had a hint of surprise mixed with curiosity. I waved, forcing a smile that felt foreign on my face. Hey Lisa, I'm Tom. She frowned for a split second, confusion flickering across her features, but then she quickly masked it with that charming smile I had fallen in love with. Nice to meet you. It's always great to meet someone from the app. As we exchanged pleasantries, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing on hollow ground. This wasn't a date, it was a twisted game of cat and mouse. We ordered coffee, and as we waited, I watched her closely. She was animated, laughing at my jokes, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I was struck by how easily she slipped into flirtation mode, the same way she had done with so many other men. I felt sick. Do you come to this cafe often? I asked, trying to keep the conversation light while my mind raced with a million thoughts. Not really. I just thought it would be fun to meet somewhere new. Her voice was casual, but I could hear an underlying nervousness. She didn't know me, yet she was playing with fire. Yeah, it's a great spot. I love the vibe, I replied, feeling an urge to delve deeper. What do you usually do for fun? Oh, she shrugged. I like to go out, meet new people, and just enjoy life. I've been feeling a little stuck lately. The words hit me hard. Here she was, sitting across from me, talking about feeling stuck while still reaching out to other men. I wanted to scream that she was the reason I was feeling stuck, that she was the one dragging this whole mess down. But I held my tongue, letting her continue. Honestly, it's been nice to find someone who isn't so serious about everything. She continued, her laughter spilling out effortlessly. That was my cue. I leaned in closer, my heart pounding as I prepared to give her a taste of her own medicine. It's funny because I've felt the same way. Sometimes you just want to feel desired and wanted, right? Her eyes widened slightly, and I caught the hint of guilt, maybe even fear, flickering in her expression. It was a small victory, but it felt significant. Exactly, she said, her voice slightly higher. Who doesn't want that? Right, I replied, my gaze steady on hers. So tell me, do you think being married has made that harder for you? The question hung in the air like a cloud of tension, and for a moment she looked taken aback. What do you mean? I felt a surge of adrenaline. It was now or never. Being tied down. Sometimes it can feel limiting, can't it? Her expression shifted, her defenses rising. I guess, but that's not the point. I love my husband. The word struck me like a blow. Do you, Lisa? Because it doesn't seem so from my end. It seems like you're out here flirting with other guys instead. The moment those words left my mouth, I saw the color drain from her face. The shock registered in her eyes, and the atmosphere shifted from playful to tense in an instant. What are you talking about? She stammered, her confidence deflating like a popped balloon. I leaned back, feeling a sense of satisfaction as the pieces began to fall into place. I know. About the app, Lisa. I know you're still active on it and I've seen the conversations firsthand. Her mouth opened and closed, a fish out of water. That's not what it seems. She protested, but her voice lacked the conviction it usually had. I pressed on, digging deeper. What's it then? Just harmless fun, just looking for attention, because it sure looks like you've been crossing lines. She shifted uncomfortably, her fingers fidgeting with a napkin. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was just trying to have fun, Mark. You were always so busy with work. I felt alone. I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. Was she really trying to turn this around on me? So it's my fault you decided to cheat. You didn't think to talk to me first. The silence between us was heavy. Lisa looked down, clearly struggling to craft a response that would somehow absolve her of the responsibility. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, trying to think of a way to spin this. Look, it was stupid. I made a mistake, she finally admitted, her voice wavering. I thought it was just a way to feel good about myself. It wasn't serious. Not serious. I interrupted, feeling a surge of anger. You're meeting men, flirting with them, and you think that's not serious. It's a betrayal, Lisa. My voice rose, but I didn't care. She looked around, her eyes darting, probably worried about the other patrons overhearing our conversation. Can we not do this here? No, we can't just pretend it's not happening. I shot back, realizing this was the moment of reckoning. You put us in this position, and now we have to deal with it. I won't let you hide from your actions. At that moment, I understood that this was not just about her betrayal. It was about the life we built together and the trust that was now shattered. I wanted to know if there was any way to salvage what we had left, or if I would have to find a way to cut my losses and move on. The confrontation reached a boiling point, and I could feel the tension crackling in the air. Would I walk away from this meeting feeling empowered, or would I leave with more questions than answers? This was just the beginning, and I was ready for whatever came next. The tension hung in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Lisa's defensive demeanor began to crack as realization sunk in. She looked like a deer caught in headlights, and I could almost see the wheels spinning in her mind, trying to find a way out of this mess. I had laid the truth bare before her, and there was no escaping it now. Mark, please, she said, her voice softening, almost pleading. I never meant to hurt you. It was just a stupid mistake. I didn't think it would lead to this. The words felt hollow as they left her lips. It was a classic excuse, one that I had heard so many times before in stories of infidelity. I struggled to swallow the anger boiling inside me. It felt more like a hot rage simmering just beneath the surface. And what did you think would happen when you decided to seek attention from other men? I shot back, trying to control my voice, but I could feel the tremor of hurt lacing through my words. Did you think I wouldn't notice, that I wouldn't care? I thought it was harmless fun, she exclaimed, the frustration bubbling over. You've been so distant lately. I felt neglected, Mark. I needed something to lift my spirits. Her words hit me hard like a punch to the gut. My mind raced back over the last few months, the late nights at work, the missed dinners, the times I'd come home exhausted and barely engaged. I regretted the distance that had crept in between us, but it felt like she was using it as ammunition against me, as if I was somehow to blame for her actions. That's no excuse for cheating, Lisa. I leaned forward, my voice steady but simmering with anger. If you were feeling neglected, you should have talked to me. We could have worked through it together, instead of throwing everything we had away for a cheap thrill. Tears brimmed in her eyes, and I could see the facade crumbling. I'm sorry, Mark. I know it was wrong, I messed up, but can't we try to fix this? I still love you. The words felt like a lifeline thrown into a stormy sea, but I was struggling to grasp it. Did she really love me, or was this just another attempt to quiet the storm she had created? My heart ached at the thought of the woman I had shared my life with being willing to betray me so easily. You have to understand, this isn't just a minor issue we can brush under the rug. I replied, my voice calm but firm. You've broken my trust, and that's not something that can be easily repaired. Lisa's shoulders slumped and she looked defeated. I know, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. Just give me a chance. I paused, weighing her words. Part of me wanted to believe her, wanted to hold onto the love we had built. But another part was screaming at me to take a step back and really consider the implications of her actions. Could I ever trust her again? Let's say I do give you another chance, I said slowly, measuring my words carefully. What does that even look like? How do you plan on proving to me that this won't happen? Again, because I need to know if we're going to move forward together or if it's time for me to walk away. She looked up, the tears spilling over, and for the first time I saw raw vulnerability on her face. I'll do anything, Mark. I'll delete the app, I'll go to counseling, I'll talk to you more about what I'm feeling. I just don't want to lose you. The desperation in her voice tugged at my heartstrings, and I felt a momentary flicker of hope. But then I remembered the laughter, the flirtation, the way she had let herself be swept away by attention that wasn't mine. It was a painful reminder of the gap that had opened between us. You can't just say those things, Lisa. They need to be backed by action. Trust isn't built overnight. It takes time, and right now I'm not sure if I can trust you at all. She nodded, wiping her eyes, the desperation turning into determination. I'll prove it to you. I'll show you how serious I am about making this right. Please just give me some time. Time? I echoed, the word hanging in the air. Like a cloud. Yeah, time for us to figure things out. I don't want to give up on our marriage without trying everything we can, she said, her voice now a blend of hope and fear. I sighed, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. I need to think, Lisa. I need to take a step back and evaluate everything. This isn't just about you and me anymore. It's about the life we've built and the trust that's been shattered. Her face fell, but I could see she understood. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't shut me out completely. I nodded slowly, the reality of the situation settling in. I would give her a chance, but it wouldn't be easy. Trust, once broken, was hard to rebuild, and I wasn't sure where this path would lead us. As the conversation drew to a close, I felt a mix of sadness and resolve. I didn't want to lose her, but I also couldn't ignore the reality of her actions. It was a fragile balance, and I knew the road ahead would be filled with challenges. We finished our coffees in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. I wanted to believe we could salvage our marriage, but deep down, I knew it would take time and effort from both of us. The emotional roller coaster was far from over. As we left the cafe, I felt a shift in my heart. Maybe there was still a flicker of hope left, but it would require both of us to work hard. Would Lisa truly follow through, or was this just another empty promise? Only time would tell, but I was determined to find out. The battle for our marriage had only just begun, and I was ready to face whatever came next, even if that meant confronting my own feelings and fears along the way. The question remained, could we truly rebuild what had been broken, or would we find ourselves drifting further apart than ever? The days following our confrontation were a whirlwind of emotions. Lisa and I fell into a routine of sorts, but it felt fragile, like walking on eggshells. I found myself constantly on edge, unsure of how to navigate this new reality. She was trying, really trying, to prove her commitment to our marriage, but every smile, every gesture felt tinged. Doubt. She deleted the dating app immediately, or at least that's what she claimed. I didn't check her phone. I didn't want to cross a line that would further break my already fragile trust. Instead, I focused on the small things. She started coming home earlier, taking an interest in my day, and even suggested we go out on dates again. It was a start, but the gnawing feeling of uncertainty lingered in the back of my mind. One Thursday night, Lisa suggested we go to a nearby restaurant for dinner. It was a place we used to frequent when we first started dating, and I could tell she was trying to rekindle that spark. The ambience was cozy, lit with soft candles and filled with the sound of laughter and clinking glasses. But instead of feeling warm and nostalgic, I felt an overwhelming sense of unease. As we sat down at our table, I couldn't help but scrutinize her every movement. She looked beautiful, dressed in a lovely red blouse that accentuated her figure. But inside, my gut was churning. Each time she laughed a little too enthusiastically or leaned in a bit too close to me, my mind raced back to the dark days when I felt I was losing her to someone else. "Mark, are you okay?" she asked, her brow furrowing in concern. "Yeah, just thinking," I replied, forcing a smile. "Thinking about what?" She pressed, her eyes searching mine. I had a choice to make. I could either share my worries or keep them bottled up. I opted for honesty. "I'm just trying to figure out where we stand, Lisa. It's still hard for me to adjust." She nodded, her expression softening. I get it. This is new for both of us, but I'm committed to making this work. I really am. Her sincerity shone through, but it was hard to shake the lingering doubts. I know, it's just going to take time. As we continued our conversation, I found myself drifting in and out of the moment. The food was delicious, and I could see that she was genuinely enjoying herself, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still off. After dinner, we decided to take a walk through a nearby park. The night air was crisp, and the stars twinkled above us, but I felt a heaviness in my chest. Lisa reached for my hand, intertwining her fingers with mine. It felt familiar, comforting even, but I was hyper-aware of the fracture that still lay between us. "Do you remember when we used to come here all the time?" she asked, her voice soft. I nodded, forcing a smile as memories flooded back. "Yeah, we had some great times here." "Maybe we can make new memories," she suggested, her eyes bright with hope. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But every time I looked at her, I was reminded of the betrayal, the lies, and the uncertainty. "I hope so," was all I could manage to say. After a few minutes of walking in silence, we arrived at a bench overlooking a small pond. The reflection of the moon shimmered on the water's surface, creating a picturesque scene that felt almost surreal. "Mark, I know I messed up," Lisa said, breaking the silence. "I've been thinking about it a lot. I can't believe I let things get so out of hand." "It hurt, Lisa. It hurt more than I can explain," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. "I want to move forward, but I need to know you're committed to us, not just to filling some void." "I am," she insisted, her voice earnest. "I've been doing a lot of soul-searching. I didn't realize how much I needed to communicate with you. I thought I could find that excitement elsewhere, but I was wrong. You're my best friend, my partner." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe she was serious about changing, about rebuilding. But then a wave of doubt crashed over me again. Was she just saying what I wanted to hear? "Can you promise me that this won't happen again? That you won't go looking for validation outside of our marriage?" "I promise," she said, squeezing my hand. "I will do everything I can to show you that I mean it." I wanted to believe her, but the painful memories were still fresh. The thought of her flirting with strangers, laughing at jokes that weren't mine, crushed me. I was at a crossroads and I needed time to think. "Let's take it slow," I suggested. "Let's focus on rebuilding trust before we jump back into anything too serious." "Okay," she agreed, her voice laced with understanding. "I'll do whatever it takes." As we sat there, hand in hand, I felt the tightness in my chest ease slightly. This was the first time in a while that I felt we were on the same page, but I still knew that trust was a delicate thing, easily shattered. The days turned into weeks, and while we were slowly trying to rebuild, the memories of her betrayal still haunted me. I found myself replaying our past conversations, rehashing those moments when I felt the distance grow between us. I started to ask myself if I could truly forgive her and move forward. Then one evening, as I was at home flipping through social media, I came across a photo that stopped me in my tracks. It was a picture of Lisa with another man, arms wrapped around each other, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "Just a fun night out." My heart dropped. It was as if someone had punched me in the gut. The anger and betrayal I had felt before came flooding back, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What had she done? Had she lied to me again? How could she betray my trust so easily? The questions thundered in my mind, and I felt my resolve begin to crumble. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself. I knew I needed to confront her about this. There was no way I could let it slide. But how could she go from promising to work on our marriage to being so casual with another man? The chaos within me swirled, and I realized that I had reached my breaking point. I felt like I was standing on a precipice, and it was time to make a decision about how I would move forward. This was no longer just about rebuilding. It was about whether I could even trust her at all. The cycle of emotional turmoil had to end, and I had to face the truth head-on. I would confront her, and this time I wouldn't hold back. The question remained, would I finally have the courage to cut ties, or could we still salvage what little was left of our marriage? I was ready to find out. And the confrontation was coming soon. I couldn't shake the feeling of rage that coursed through me as I stared at the photo of Lisa with that man. It was all too clear. She hadn't changed. The promises she made felt hollow now, mere words that meant nothing against the reality of her actions. I knew I had to confront her, and I wouldn't allow myself to be fooled again. That evening, I waited for her to come home. My heart raced as I paced back and forth in the living room, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I wasn't sure how she would react, but I knew I couldn't hold back this time. I had to approach this with the strength I had been building within myself. When Lisa finally walked through the door, her face lit up with a smile, but it faded quickly when she saw the look on my face. "Mark, what's wrong?" "Sit down," I said, my voice steady but firm. "Okay," she replied, her expression turning serious as she took a seat. I pulled out my phone and showed her the picture I had found. "Care to explain this?" Her eyes widened, and I could see the panic rising in her expression. I can explain." "Explain what exactly?" I interrupted, my anger boiling over. "This isn't just another harmless fun moment, Lisa. You've been lying to me again." "No, I wasn't lying, I swear. It was just a friendly outing with some coworkers." "Coworkers?" I scoffed, incredulous. "You look pretty cozy with him, and I don't think that's how friends behave." She opened her mouth to retort, but no words came out. The silence stretched on, and I could see the realization hitting her. She had dug herself a deeper hole, and now she was trapped. "Mark, I messed up," she finally said, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I could just have fun without it meaning anything. I didn't think." "That's the problem, Lisa," I shouted, letting my emotions pour out. "You never think, you just jump into things without considering the consequences. You've been doing this all along." "I'm sorry." "I really am," she pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "I just wanted to feel alive again, and I didn't realize how much I was hurting you until it was too late." The desperation in her voice should have tugged at my heart, but all I felt was the weight of betrayal suffocating me. I had given her a chance, and she had thrown it away. "I can't do this anymore," I said, my voice trembling but resolute. "I can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not. You've broken my trust too many times, and I can't rebuild from this." "Mark, please don't say that," she cried, her voice rising in panic. "I'm done, Lisa," I said firmly. "I can't keep giving you chances only for you to squander them. You've shown me who you really are." "Don't do this, I love you," she begged, her words a desperate plea. I shook my head, feeling my heart break all over again. "Love isn't enough when there's no trust. I need to put myself first now. I need to heal." Tears streamed down her face, and I felt a flicker of sadness for what we once had, but I couldn't let that cloud my judgment. This wasn't just about love, it was about respect and self-worth. "I'm moving out," I finally said, the words feeling as heavy as lead. "I need space to figure out my next steps. I need to find myself again." "No, please, Mark, don't leave," she cried, reaching for my hand as I stood up. I pulled away, my heart aching at the sight of her desperation, but I had to be strong. "You've made your choices, Lisa. It's time for me to make mine." With that, I walked away, leaving her crying in the living room. It felt like I was tearing my heart out, but I knew it was the only way to reclaim my dignity. I had given her chance after chance, and each time she had chosen betrayal over honesty. As I packed my things, I felt a mix of sadness and relief wash over me. The road ahead would be difficult, but I knew it was necessary. I couldn't stay in a relationship that had become toxic, and I needed to put my own well-being first. In the days that followed, I moved into a small apartment and began to rediscover myself. It felt liberating to be free from the emotional chaos that had consumed my life. I started focusing on my hobbies, reconnecting with friends, and exploring new passions. Slowly but surely, I began to heal. I realized that I had lost a part of myself in that relationship, and now it was time to rebuild. I took long walks, read empowering books, and even started journaling to process my emotions. I learned to embrace the uncertainty of life and found strength in vulnerability. Eventually, I found clarity. I understood that while I had loved Lisa deeply, I could no longer allow her choices to dictate my happiness. I hadn't just lost a partner, I had gained a newfound sense of self-worth. Through this experience, I learned valuable lessons about trust, communication, and self-discovery. I learned that I deserved someone who honored me, respected me, and committed to our relationship wholeheartedly. Life continued, and the pain would always be a part of my story, but it didn't define me. I was moving forward, ready to embrace whatever came next, wiser and stronger than before. I knew that heartbreak was a part of life, but it also opened doors to new beginnings. Now, as I reflect on everything that transpired, I realize that I am free, free from deceit, free from betrayal, and finally free to love myself. The journey ahead is mine to shape, and I am ready to face it with courage.